Dale Jenkins from the Swanee River Water Management District, and he is a senior hydrogeologist. Thanks.
Thank you, Stacy. Everybody hear me okay? Okay, I don't know what to tell you. After Stacy, Mike, and Tom got through, I think it's all been said and done, but I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to address the three questions that Stacy provided Tom and I, which is a little bit about our per capita use, regional aquifer level declines, and then a little bit about our conservation efforts. So first we'll just talk about per capita use. As you can see in our district, unlike St. John's, our primary water user is agriculture. We don't grow people, we grow food. So as you can see, our agricultural water use is about 127 million gallons per day. In 2010, there's public supplies only 23. You can see in gray, it doesn't show up real good, but these are some of our municipalities. There's Live Oak, Perry, right here Gainesville, which is permitted through St. John's, so we don't, that's GRU, and they permit that. So these per capita uses are from fairly small communities. Lake City is one of our largest, so in figuring out our per capita use, it's rather low. Our residential per capita use within these service areas is only about 65 to 70 gallons per day per person, which is not much because we don't really water lawns that much in general in utility service areas. We don't grow St. Augustine, that's probably why. So most of it's Bahia, so when it rains, it grows. When it gets dry, it dies. When it rains, it grows again. Our gross per capita, which in utility service areas includes commercial, industrial uses and things like that, that's about 110 to 120 gallons per day. So we're doing real good as far as our per capita water use. I want to talk a little bit about these groundwater level changes. Mike did a real nice job of giving you a nice overview of the Florida aquifer system. You've already seen this map in a different format. That's our district, there's St. John's. And so I want to talk a little bit about the withdrawals. By the way, in 2000, all withdrawals in the Florida aquifer system, particularly the upper Florida aquifer, was 3.6 billion gallons per day. This is a potentiometric surface map. It looks a little busy, but the main thing I want to point out here, these black lines with numbers on them, that's the elevation that the water in the upper Florida rises to in a well that's in that aquifer. So in other words, right here we see the 70 on that line, or the water level elevation, feet above sea levels, is 70 feet, okay, above sea level. A couple other things I just want to know. What's important here, groundwater flow direction is perpendicular to these lines of equal heads. So in other words, these yellow areas right here in the Keystone area, up here in Valdosta, Georgia, the groundwater flows radially off these areas to lower heads. These are high areas in the potentiometric surface, and so they're the recharge areas. So if you look at that, water flows this way, that way, and into our basin. Now this green line, what I want to show here, this green line, this is a pre-development slide. This is about the turn of the last century, so sometime in the late 1800s or early 1900s is considered pre-development. This green line here is basically a no-flow boundary that separates the Swanee River Basin from the adjacent basin to the north, which is southeast Georgia and northeast Florida. And actually, if you continue this line about this way, that would show the southern border of the southeast Georgia, northeast Florida groundwater basin. So in pre-development conditions, this no-flow boundary connecting these recharge areas came through basically eastern Baker County up into Georgia and on over. In 1980, and these maps are from the United States Geological Survey, by the way, pay no attention to these little blue dots. Those are wells, and the way they generate these potentiometric surface maps is they grab water levels out of these wells and they put this map together. And obviously there's some interpretation that goes into these maps. So these blue dots are wells that they collected levels from in May of 1980. Now you can see there's your no-flow boundary, and what's happened here, and by the way, just for clarification, on a water molecule in the aquifer on this side of the line will flow this way, on that side of the line will flow that way, and that's why I show these green arrows. So if I go back, you'll see there's the boundary right there. As we move forward into 1980, you can see that it's shifted a little bit. You know, it was here, and now it's, the no-flow boundaries seem to have moved into this area a little bit more. So the groundwater basin in the Swanee River area, the Swanee River groundwater basin, looks like it's shrunk a little bit. You can also see this blue line here. This is 50, this is a 50-foot contour. I failed to show you last time, but up here it was 70. So you can also see that the levels have actually dropped. So what happened between pre-development and 1980? This is a map from 2009. We put this together based upon a St. Johns River Water Management District potential metric surface map from May 2009 and a Swanee River Water Management District May 2009 map. And what this basically shows is that this stabilized, this no-flow boundary stabilized. There's really no movement in it from 1980 to 2009. This just shows again pre-development, 2009, and you can just see how they compare up to each other. So the levels have dropped, the basin line, the no-flow boundary shifted just a little bit. This shows maybe one of the reasons why. Pumpage really started increasing at the turn of last century up in southeast Georgia, a little bit up in here in Fernandina Beach and Duval County. And you can see when you pump a lot of wells like that, the potential metric surface draws down. You're actually drawing down the aquifer, so that spreads out into this area right here. Now, this explains it, and Mike went through this. This whole white area up here is confined, so when you're not getting recharge getting into the aquifer, that drawdown cone continues to spread out until it reaches another source of recharge. And in this case, this gray area is where those hawthorn clays, those confining clays that Mike showed, that's where they pinch out. Remember you showed that one slide that showed that scar? Well, that's about where that is, right there. So once you come off the confining area, you start getting a lot of sinkholes and more direct recharge into the upper Florida. And so as this cone of depression moves into Florida from Georgia and into our district from Georgia and northeast Florida, sorry. Once that water now will have a source of recharge, and so that cone of depression or those drawdown levels will stall out. So you can see, remember, from 1980 to 2009, there's really no more shift. And this just shows it in a different way. All this blue here, this shows how once you come off that confining unit, which is gray, and you start getting all this recharge, which is in red, direct recharge into the upper Florida. When you come off of that confined area, the Swanee River acts like one big spring runs. Groundwater just starts feeding it, and this is a bunch of groundwater just discharging into the Swanee, and the lower Santa Fe, here's the Itchitucky River. So basically the consequence of the declines existing, well, here's White Sulphur Springs right here. That really doesn't flow anymore. And we've also had decreased flow in the Itchitucky River. The USGS recently completed a study that shows that. We, in our water supply assessment, which Tom covered, we do the same thing. We do a water supply assessment. We have the lower Santa Fe River and Springs is predicted to show some impacts in the next planning period out to 2030. Now solutions, we're setting minimum flows and levels on the lower Santa Fe River and the Itchitucky River. And I really want to stress this. Just last month, the St. Johns River Water Management District, us and DEP signed an interlocal agreement to study these types of issues. And so we're gonna work together to resolve this regional groundwater decline, which is a very complicated issue. It includes rainfall, it includes pumpage, all that stuff has to be studied. So we're really pleased with that. I know St. John's is too. We're really gonna be putting our heads together and working very hard on that. A little bit about conservation. Again, agriculture is a big user, so we separate that out from non-agricultural uses, which is public supply and everything else. These are our numbers out of the water supply assessment. By 2030, all these sectors, all these water use sectors right here, we think we can save 14 million gallons per day by 2030. This is one of the ways we do that. We have a landscape ordinance in the spring when it's high evapotranspiration and people are growing things. People need a little bit more water, so we let you pick 2 days a week, whatever your days are, and that's in spring and summer. And then now, when we get to the time where the plants start shutting down, they don't need as much water. There's less evapotranspiration, and the groundwater, and the days are shorter. Well, you can only 1 day a week is fine for that. This is a brand new program. People, and probably everyone in this room is going to a hotel, and now recently, the last couple of years, they see these little placards on their pillows or in the bathroom saying, hey, if you don't need to wash your towels or your linens, we appreciate it. We just instituted that last month in our district. One of the ways we're conserving agriculture, we're working with the growers, working specifically on the overhead irrigation systems, because that 80% of our agricultural water use is through overhead systems or center pivots, and we're helping them use best management practices to more efficiently irrigate. If they don't have to irrigate, they don't want to irrigate. Every time they turn on their pump, it costs them money, either fuel costs or electricity. The Swanee River Partnership is a great organization in our district that works very closely with the growers to do just these types of things, to help them more efficiently use their water use and more efficiently fertilize and use agrochemicals so that they can better protect water quality. And just a quick note there, approximately 1 billion gallons is saved per growing season thanks to the efforts of the Swanee River Partnership. This is the by 2030 we figure we can conserve 11 million gallons per day for just the agricultural sector by using those BMPs. And it's just a quick last slide, I think this is it. In our water supply assessment, by 2030, we see an increased demand of 12 million gallons per day from the low-end projections, all water use groups. 64 million gallons per day would be our high-end projection by 2030. That's because we're allowing agriculture and thermoelectric power generation, use sectors like that to go up significantly based upon maybe a power plant coming in or something like that. So you can see, if you take the agricultural conservation, which is 11 million gallons per day in 2030, and the other non-end sectors, which was 14, that's 25 million gallons per day that can be saved. Now we got a surplus if our low range projections come through. We got a deficit if the high range projection comes through. It's probably somewhere in the middle, and that speaks to what Tom talked about with this water sustainability issue, talking about using alternative water supplies or conservation practices, things like that, to bridge that gap. With that, I'm done. I'm sorry I went a little bit over, Stacy.